Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I wanted to do a similar video that I did with Arachne when it came to matchups and like what I feel is good and bad and indifferent. And I wanted to do with Katsu. So I'm going to kind of just go over my thoughts. This is based off of honestly just Talishar and local stuff. We haven't had a big event yet with this new meta, right? With the Tiger Katsu specifically. With some of the dynasty cards. However, I think I've gotten a decent gist of like how certain matchups go. Obviously, it depends on what level you're at and stuff like that. So I'm kind of speaking at a local level and at like an initial level. So keep that in mind. But at least for anyone out there, it's like doing armories or Talishar, or even like a mid-level of it, maybe even a Pro Quest. I think that this is definitely viable for that. When it comes to battle hardens and road nats and all that stuff, then it might change as time goes on. However, let me know what you think of this list, if you agree or disagree with it right before we get into it. If you want to leave a like, comment, subscribe on this video, please do. If not, totally fine. And yeah, we'll get right into it. So I have the list here, and I put Katsu at the end, obviously. You can't see Dory over here just because of how it's shaped. But we'll start with, we'll just kind of go in order here. It doesn't really matter. So Kano, I think Kano is favored so far. As I'm looking at it, just on Talishar alone, I'm 8-3 against Kano. Obviously, here I'll go ahead and put this over here. That way, you all don't have to like mess with it. But yeah, 8-3 against Kano so far in Talishar. I haven't played it in person yet, so I'll have to see how that goes. But overall, not too bad, to say the least. I think the real question with Kano is, do you run AB2 or AB3? I think that's what you kind of got to look at. I started running AB2, and AB2 definitely is a little bit freer because you do have, so like when I run AB2 against Kano, I'm running Tide Flippers and gloves with Tunic, and just really going at it as much as I can. But I have swapped to AB3 really, and AB3 definitely does help on his combo turn. If you run AB2, you're basically racing. You're trying to get him to 0 before he gets that Ragamuffins hat freaking combo turn. If you run AB3, then it's a little bit more flexible. The reason I ran AB2 at first is because most of the time with Katsu, you don't have 3 resources anyway on that big turn. So it's really hard to even block 3 worth of damage on his combo turn regardless. Definitely, it's still a lot of testing to see which one's which. I think you're safer on AB3, but I think you're a little bit more lethal on AB2 personally. Having that Tunic for Art of War really, really helps. I've thought about putting Lantern there as well and just having one Kodachi, but I use my Kodachis a lot in my gameplay, so it's a little bit different. I would say it's favored. I would say it's not heavily favored, but it is favored. Like if I had to give a random percentage, right, I think it's like 55-45%. It's a straight race. The reason that Tiger Katsu specifically is a little bit easier is because they only have 30 life. And the way this deck works, like your threat, if he doesn't block, he or she does not block well and doesn't wait for their Tunic and isn't super patient, you could be threatening lethal on turn 2, if not turn 1, depending on how crazy your turn goes. And I've had that happen already. So overall it's favored, but we'll see. It's a very funny matchup because Kano can just kill you in 1 turn, but also if he can't find his cards, then you just kill him. So I run Mask of Momentum in it to keep pressure. So that's how that is. Dash is favored no matter what, in my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. In my opinion, no matter what it is, I think Dash is favored. If it's Control Dash, unless they just get everything out super early and are just like they get like 3-4 items out in the first like 4 or 5 turns, you just win because they can't block you fully out, especially on your big turns. They just can't, and you just take tempo, you win. It's really bad. That's just my opinion. When it comes to Boost Dash, it really does come down to the coin flip, like who gets first roll. I like going second against a Boost Dash, make them have to Arsenal, and then me take tempo, or they try to boost me on their turn 1, and I just block out fully, and then I go. That really helps. Whoever goes first does inhibit that matchup a little bit more. And I think right now with the boost builds, a lot of dashes are trying a lot of new things. So it's hard to say like how good it is. Right now I'm 6-2 in the matchup on Talishar. So doing pretty good against it. I've played mostly boost builds except for one. I personally think unless you hit some crazy maximum velocity turn or combustible courier turn where I can't block you out or something, then it gets I just deal more damage per turn than you do, even as a boost dash. That's just my opinion. But we'll have to see. It's definitely, in my opinion, favored at the moment. And if it can maybe get to 50-50. So like if there was a section between these two, like 55-45 or like 52-48, then I think it's slightly favored to Katsu. Azalea is favored. However, for the Azalea side, it's also skill intensive. You have to know how to play around Azalea. You have to know what matters and what doesn't matter. It's really hard for Azalea. It hurts. I am currently 3-1 against Azalea on Talishar. The one Azalea game I lost, they legitimately hit 4 red in the ledgers. They hit 3 and then Memorial Ground in the 4th on 5 turns. It was unbelievable. They like hit red naturally, then they knocked the death whistle, hit another red, then they hit another red, then they Memorial Ground hit another red. So it was like, and they were buffing every time. So it was like 8 to 10 dominate red in the ledgers every single time. And by the time I finally got a little bit of tempo, I was so far down that they just kept hitting me with high dominate attacks. So if the Azalea is very, very, very skillful, it actually can be a problem. Regardless of how fun of people make fun of, or how much people make fun of Azalea, if it's a really good Azalea player, they can actually give you some issues. So that's just my opinion on that. But overall, it is favored, I think. I think it's favored enough to where you can put it in the favorite category. And I don't think anyone's going to kill me for that. But it also is a little bit of a skill-intensive matchup. Viserai to me is favored. People are going to maybe think I'm being biased in this. I'm really not. I am currently 6-0 against Viserai. I think Viserai is in a weird place right now. His Mauve Skive builds, unless you just draw straight fire with Shrills, you can't race a Katsu down. You just can't. This version of Katsu. And then some people are running like this mid-rangey build, which has helped a little bit. But Viserai is in a weird place right now. Obviously, like the top Viserai players, and I think at like a top level, like a top Katsu player versus a top Viserai player, it might be 50-50. But this is speaking at the only level I can talk out right now, which is like casual, local, and maybe even at the most like a ProQuest level. I think it's favored, personally. So that's just how it is. Oldhim's hard to win. So the matchup definitely got easier. And by easier, I mean the matchup went from an auto loss to winnable. Right? But a lot of things have to go right. The Oldhim, you kind of have to get the right turn. You have to play. It depends if they play around, if they do Stalagmite or Rampart. It depends if they're aggro or tanky. If most Oldhims are smart, they'll go tanky against you, go for value, block with 3 cards, swing with hammer, or block with 3 cards, arsenal, a good attack, then attack with like a crush the weak or like something like, I don't know, some type of like 3 or 4 cost attack off their tectonic plating. It just all depends. I have beaten Oldhims. I am currently now 3-2 against Oldhim. Every time it's been super close. I think Fai has a little bit better of a matchup in Oldhim just because like Lava Burst, you can get like Katsu's Wombo combo turn is better than Fai's in my opinion, but Fai can do like consistently better rupture damage. However, again, the matchup went from an auto loss to winnable. I have beaten Oldhims. I have lost Oldhims. I think at a top level, it's very, very, very hard to win. But at a level that most of you watching this video are at, it's definitely winnable. You just got to play correctly. Maybe one day we'll do a video on that. Lexi is skill intensive. It's skill intensive. You don't know what type of Lexi it is. There's so many types of Lexi builds out there right now. I can't really tell you like where on this scale it goes. There's the Death Dealer tall ice builds I'm seeing. There's the lightning build I'm seeing. There's this typical like Art of War builds. There's like a hybrid. The Art of War builds that are more like on just high value arrows. There's Art of War builds that are on ice. It really depends, right? So it's very skill intensive. I think it's favored if you can get tempo, but if you don't get, it's all about tempo. The whole matchup's about tempo. But it's probably the most skill intensive matchup. I think it's a matchup where for newer players, like you're just going to hate your life and think it's horrible and never want to play against it. But as you play it a lot and you understand how to play around certain interactions and play through certain interactions, it gets a lot better, a lot quicker. So that's just my opinion. Briar's 50-50. It's your Art of War turn versus their channel turn. Whoever gets it first wins. That's literally it's literally what the matchup is. It sucks. If the Briar bricks or doesn't hit channel early, she loses. If Katsu bricks or Briar hits channel early, he loses. Like it's just how it goes. The matchup is truly a 50-50 matchup. Nothing much to say about that. Icelander's unfavored against a good Icelander. Against a good Icelander who knows how to play the deck. Not a great Icelander, not Michael Hamilton, but just a good Icelander. The matchup's unfavored. Crouching Tiger Katsu, I run 14 blues, and I think out of all the Crouching Tiger builds I've seen, which is like 5 to 10 so far, I run the most blues of anybody I know. And I run the little package in the sideboard specifically for Icelander. Even then, right now I am 2-3, or no. On Talishar alone, I'm 2-3 against Icelander. It's very hard. They can disrupt you so much. Blizzard sucks. Hypothermia sucks. Channel Lake Frigid sucks. Like, she has so many things that can just slow you down and then gets tempo. And then all it takes for her to do is get one good tempo play with like a Channel Lake Frigid Blizzard or something. You can't play your turn. You draw up, and then she wounding bulls you for 3 or something, like or 8 or whatever, 7, and it just gets really, really hard, really fast. So you have to basically have to take 8 damage, and you still are staring down a Channel Lake Frigid. Excuse me. So you have to really play around her key cards. When she gets like back-to-back channels or back-to-back blizzards, you kind of like take it on the chin and keep moving. Try to keep your life total high as much as you can. I run AB3 into the matchup now because I want to be able to block out all of her waning moon if I can. Like, if she plays Channel Lake Frigid and stops my whole turn, and then I have to end turn, I want to be able to block out all the waning moon because like my turn's done anyway at that point, so I want to be able to block it all out. So it all depends, but definitely unfavored when it comes to like a skilled matchup. Prism is LL, so we don't gotta worry about that. This is just a list I got offline. Boltyn, in my opinion, is favored. Unless they get the God turn right off the bat, then you win. Personally, I think you race them down. You don't care what they throw at you, unless it's a crazy Lumina turn and you have a bunch of non-attacks that you can block out a couple of the swords. Like, there's no point. There's no point in blocking. You just outvalue them as much as you can. Now, I would love to see like a really, really good Boltyn player. I'm not disrespecting any of my Boltyn connoisseurs in the comments, but I would like to play like against someone who like mains Boltyn, plays all the time, because you don't see a lot of Boltyn mains. So like, I would like to see if they have some builds that maybe give Katsu more trouble. They probably do. But right now, overall, I mean, I've had no trouble. I think I've lost once to a Boltyn, and that's because they got their spirit out right off the bat, and then they double Lumina to be like turn 3. And the game was still close. So that's that. Levia, favored. She can't push the damage you can push, and eventually she's gonna have to start blocking out and then loses the blood debt. Just nothing much to say there. Dromai is favored. I would love to play against a really, really, really good aggro Dromai. I haven't played against a lot of those builds. I've only been playing against mostly the Mage Master Boots builds. I think I've played against one of the Red Hot builds. But Dromai so far I'm 5-0. Haven't lost like at all. The only heroes I have a losing record against is Icelander. That's it. It's the only one. Yeah, the only hero on Talishar that I have a losing record against. I'm 2-3 against Icelander. So yeah, Dromai, pretty simple. Fai 50-50. Definitely depends on who gets what. I have Blazing Yori in sideboard, specifically for Fai, to try to counteract his plays. So far I'm 2-2 against Fai. Like, nothing crazy. I'm not seeing a lot of Fais. Like, I've played 130 games plus with this list so far on Talishar, between like not this list but this hero and this build, like Crouching Tiger build, and I've only played 4 Fais. So I don't know if they're just gone or what. It's really funny. I'm playing I tell you right now, like, the top 5 heroes I've played the most against are Katsu, the mirror, Kano, Dash, Arachne, Reinhar, and Viserai. I don't know why those are the most, and then followed by Dromai. So the ones I played the least against: Briar, Oldhim, Fai, which is so funny because there's like the 3 top decks in the format. So it's just really cool. Dorinthea is skill intensive. I do think Dorinthea is a bad matchup, and I'll put her in the unfavored just because at a core level it is unfavored because she just gets a lot of counters. However, if you hit the cards you need to hit early, you can just not block her. If she doesn't hit Glistening Steelblade early and you hit your good cards early, you're going to prevent her from being able to keep her hand in at least one turn, and then she's going to lose her counters. And if she keeps just trying to race you at counters, as long as you don't brick, I know it's an asterisk, then you race her down. Like it's not as bad as it used to be, but it definitely is still in favor. Reinhar's favored. One of the harder matchups for Reinhar is Katsu personally. Haven't had much issue with that. Definitely favored. Now those Berserk Blood Rush Bellow decks that are going around, that one is harder, and I have played against a couple that I've lost to. Or one that I lost to. So far, I'm 6-1 against Reinhar. Nothing crazy. So, yeah, nothing crazy there. Bravo is unfavored. It's not fun. I think when you get really good in the matchup, it can turn to 50-50 personally. But overall, it's unfavored. I think at a high level, it's definitely unfavored. But at your level, my level, like casual pro up to pro quest, maybe RTN level, I think it's unfavored, maybe 50-50 if you can get the right cards early, but it is a little bit hard. So that's just how that goes. Yeah, so this is where I think Katsu sits. I think he's 50-50 into the other two aggro decks in the format, like every aggro matchup usually. I think all the aggro decks hit hard in a different way for different reasons. His bad matchups, Icelander, Dorinthea and Bravo. His hard to win matchup is Oldhim, but then he's good against a good portion of the field, which is why I think Katsu right now at his highest is like a low A tier deck. And at his lowest, he's like a low B. Because personally right now, like I think the top decks in the format are these three. And then I think it's Fai personally and Bravo. I think Dorinthea is either like low A, high B. And then I think it's Katsu right here, personally. Like if I had to give what the format looks like right now, I probably would do this. Give me 2 seconds and I'll show you. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's the format right now, I think. You have these three in the top, Briar, Oldhim, Icelander, in no particular order. I think Icelander's probably still one until someone beats it. Briar, Oldhim. Then you have Fai, Bravo, Dash, and Katsu, I think, are your next tier. Then you have Dromai, Reinhar, Dorinthea, and even Boltyn can do some damage. And then maybe even Kano gets put in here. And then you have Levia, Lexi. I think Lexi's not bad against aggro. Like she's really good, but she's bad against everything else. Azalea and Viserai. I think Viserai is going to struggle a little bit too, personally, but we'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. But yeah, let me know what you think. I messed it up at the very end, so don't take a screenshot of this. But let me know what you think of the content. If you agree or disagree, either one doesn't matter. It's totally fine. This is just from my experience playing games. Everyone might have had different experience level. But yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you next time on TCG Talk. Don't forget to join the Discord down below if you want to talk, whether you're a Ninja player or not. Doesn't matter. We have a good time in there. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thank you all so much.